Good morning, Kirsty. Oh, I can't manage without you. Good morning, gorgeous.
How are you?
Better for seeing you from your glamorous lifestyle location. And look, our other favourite human is in. Good evening, Susan.
Good evening, Tara. Good evening, Kirsty.
How are you? Good?
Fantastic. Brilliant. The wonderful Ruth is in. Hello, Ruth. Oh, is that all I get? Hi. How you going, Ruth?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Can I say she's much nicer to me when I see it like in real life, in analog corporate. She's very digitally aloof with me, but you're the best, Ruth. You're a superstar. And West Australia's in once more. Good morning, early morning, Emma.
Good morning.
Loving the spots. They're very, very nice. And hello, Paul, again. Not from the shed, but from the household. So Paul, we're podcasting. Are we podcasting?
We are. Yeah.
Mate, I'm excited. Oh, fantastic. So colleagues, hello, welcome to Right Club. Let's do this. We've got the magic 6 in front of us now. Let's do it. I'll see you in 29 minutes. See you on the other side. Knock it out of the park, Ruth. Come on. Yeah. last minute, colleagues. And we are done. Oh, that's exactly how I feel, Kirsty. We'll start with Queen Kirsty. Oh, yes, you worked your guts out during that time. How are you going, Kirsty? What were you working on, mate?
Yeah, I'm going okay. I did start, I'm a bit all over the place this week, but I did start with, I have to create the presentation that I'm giving at the ANZCA conference in New Zealand in November. But then I started going back through the feedback from one of my supervisors on the first article. And then I went down the rabbit hole of, because one of the things that I've picked up is that the communicator credibility is rating higher when the genders of the communicator and the audience match. And so
Nice.
then I went down the Bandura's role modeling theory, sort of, yeah, and I was reading a couple of articles on that because I think, yeah, there's something there. But anyway, so completely distracted from creating my presentation. But yeah, I'd like to look at that a bit closer because I think that's important.
Look, so do I. And look, I think that'll certainly be a slide of that presentation. Where is it in New Zealand, by the way? Where are you going?
Wellington. Yeah. I'm
Wouldn't
super
be Wellington.
excited.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's going to be amazing. And look, I think that's what you're configuring there, I think is worth the time, Kirsty, because you're working through where there's easy words like stakeholders and all these words that pretend that everybody we're communicating with agrees with us. And you're saying, well, communication works effectively when the sender and the receiver agree, and we know that. But how do we know? How do we know when they agree?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, that's that next level of analysing what's going on there, especially because I've got two parts of my study where there's the professional communicators, and so I'm adopting the Stuart Halls as we've been speaking about the encoding. So they're the encoders, and I've got that data, but then I've also got the decoding from the youth audience, and so where is all that aligning and going in? And so yeah. It's like scary. I feel like I'm on a freight train half the time, but that's okay. I need to watch that. I saw your video on LinkedIn and I thought I must watch that. I've tagged it, the mid candidature video. I think that's totally for me right now.
And you're meant to feel a bit unstable and a bit weird, Kirsty, but can I say everything you've said is brilliant. And Profcom, you are moving Profcom professional communication into a brand new field here. This is really exciting. You are brilliant.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, and we're heading to Wellington. That's exciting. It's a lovely city. Unbelievable. Should we go to my friend, really, even though she can be dispassionate, the legendary Ruth. Now, Ruth, excited. What were you working on this week?
I was actually not working on anything PhD related. There is a Senate inquiry into the Middle Arm Industrial Complex development in Darwin, and I was working on a submission for that. That
is so exciting. Can you obviously for people that are outside of Darwin, would you like to do a little bit of context on that? Good on you, can I say?
Yeah. So there's a proposed a fairly significant petrochemical industrial development being proposed just outside Darwin, which is going to have fairly significant environmental and human health impacts. And there hasn't really been, I think, sufficient environmental or health impact assessments. A lot of the health and environmental organizations around Darwin are preparing submissions and encouraging all citizens in the area or who might be affected to prepare a submission. So I've just been working on that.
And is there a better use of half an hour on planet Earth? I don't think so, Ruth. I'm so thrilled and proud of you, and I might start my submission on the weekend too. I believe that is incredibly important. As someone who's lived in industrial Manchester and industrial Oshawa in Canada, I am with you and I support every word that you've written there. Good on you.
I actually have a couple of documents from the Environmental Centre and from the Public Health Association of Australia with some information to help people with their submissions. So I can pop those in the chat if anybody else might be interested in doing one.
That would be outstanding. I was meant to see Ruth today. Ruth, you are the best. You are the best. And of course, we'll go quickly to the legendary Paul, who was once more doing fantastic sonic work. And I say, Paul, I'm only laughing because my wonderful Darwin students, I did a sonic email to all my students this morning to help them think about sound and the PhD. So you are actively doing that. So what were you working on? What are we doing this week, mate?
So I'm responding to what you'll probably think is quite an alarming thing that I've come across in our institution, is that, especially within the arts, academics don't really see the practice-based or practice-led method of research something that we should pursue, purely because it's never been done that way. So my response to that is obviously to go against that and say, well, we're going to do it anyway, because how can you go through the arts without being practical? So I was producing a podcast that links reflective theory, so Gibbs's reflective cycle, and how Gibbs's reflective cycle is kind of a tick box of how to be practically research, or how to practically research. So understanding that in order to learn something, we need to practice it, or in order to learn something, we need to understand the process we've been through. And that could be applied to practice-based or practice-led research. So it's a link between what I'm teaching them about reflective practice to the next step, which is synthesizing academic thought and academic rigor to come together and produce practically based work. And hopefully that will get across to some of the other teams that it is something we can use.
Oh, Paul, that is unbelievably inspirational. And you can see the state of my face. I just wish, I know you and I are antipodally separated, but I wish we could just bottle you and have you at every university on this planet, Paul. You're changing everything, mate, everything.
It seems to, I mean, I've started with a master's and I'm just doing undergraduate stuff to then feed up to PhD for those students who are doing it. And the undergraduates is like a light bulb's turned on for them, that they can now understand that when performers are doing a project at the end of the year, their dissertation doesn't need to be separate. They can be together and one can feed the other. And then they're realizing that actually that's how the industry works. So they're now getting practical application of what they're learning. So hopefully it's working, but we'll see. We'll see.
Absolutely unbelievable. Look at wonderful Jess's face. She's going, that's amazing. And he is amazing, Jess. Absolutely amazing. Should we go to Bree? Well, I've been watching Bree to see the level of quietness in the location. Bree,
I had 5 minutes of writing just then.
So tell us about that, because obviously children are everywhere. Those of you that work with us on Digital Office Hours, children are everywhere. We've got all sort of objects being thrown. How was the 5 minutes, Bree? What did you work on in the 5 minutes?
Well, I've listened to, I'm not sure if it was a podcast or something, but what was I doing? I'm putting in everything into one document. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. Yeah.
That is fantastic. Oh, we've got a guinea pig. We've got a guinea pig. What's the guinea pig's name, Bree?
Her name is Milkshake.
Milkshake. That is, I love guinea pigs.
I also have a rabbit.
It's a rabbit? Is it a rabbit?
No, I think we had a rabbit last week, didn't we? Maybe at the end of something. Ducks, chickens. It's a farm here. My youngest wants a goat.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll bring in a goat next week. I'm a big fan of goats myself.
We've met goat person who might be, so we've got I think he said 3 of the goats have given birth.
Great. Great. So we'll see if the little kid gets on with Milkshake. I've had a hell of a morning with you, Bree. Just I live vicariously through you. Hang in there, all right? You're doing brilliantly. You're the best, darling.
Thanks.
Shall we, Mary, how inspirational is Bree? It's like we think we got trouble and then we got Milkshake, right? We got Milkshake in our lives. Mary, what were you writing on, superstar?
Well, I have reached a milestone in academia that, we probably should celebrate. I've had my first rejection of an article.
Yes.
Yes.
Nice one.
So I was reading the article, which I think is quite good. And interestingly enough, I've been invited to present on it to a conference. So it's also helping me get ready for the conference in November. So I was doing that, going through it, and I'll start working on my conference presentation, and then I'll work out where I'll submit it next.
Yeah. So what I'll be fascinated by this. I have a whole thing about colonized and colonization research. What were the grounds that they didn't like it? They didn't like it, Mary.
Well, I guess it's a little bit out there because the article is about a Wadandi oral history about French sailor Vasse,
yes,
who was left behind at Geographe Bay in 1801. French sailors assumed that he drowned, but there's a Wadandi oral history that he survived, and they looked after him for 3 years.
Yes.
And I got oral history from a Wadandi traditional owner about Vasse and where he was first seen and where he died where his body was found 3 years later after he died. So they said I hadn't proved in my argument wasn't solid enough, that I don't know what because I correlated it with colonial archives. So generally histories say that Vasse died, but in 1838, this is 37 years afterwards, a colonial settler who could speak Noongar found out from Wadandi people that he had survived and that his body could be found over there, and there were efforts made to repatriate Vasse's bones back to France. So I found all that in the archive. So I don't know why they don't think the case is proved that, this did occur and that Wadandi people have a strong oral history about it. So
I'm so excited.
I'm a bit baffled.
Look, I'm baffled, but I'm not baffled. And one of my obsessions, as you know, is we go on and on about methodology. And actually, we need to spend a lot more time on ontology. So you were rejected because of ontology, Mary.
Oh, okay.
Because I would argue because a particular rendering of history and chronology and narrative did not validate an alternative ontology that in and of itself is perfect and meaningful and true and powerful, and the ontologies clashed.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it ties in. When you look in the archives, as I seem to find, you get an Indigenous oral history, and then you look at the archives and sure enough, yep, this does seem to be the case. So I'm not sure why it seems to be so hard to tie that into colonial archives and then write a fuller history.
I'd go again to another journal. Let's get it published. Let's get it open access, and you'll continue to change the world, Mary. Let's do that.
Thanks very much.
That's a potent rejection. And look, should we stay in Western Australia? Let's go to the dot queen herself. Let's go to the legendary Emma. Emma, what were you writing on this morning? Oh, I'm excited. Oh, sound beautiful. Can I help? Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd be excited once I mention, because I've been working on methodology. But I had a 2-hour session this morning with people in the UK of the methodology that I'm trying to adapt for use in my thesis. So I'm getting ready for my confirmation of candidature, which is why I wasn't here last week, because I was watching your video going, oh, okay.
That's the effect I have on women.
They're kind of the experts in what I'm trying to do. But when I talked to them about it for 2 hours, they said, not sure that's really what it is. Write us a 1-page A1 and see if we can get it then. So that's what I'm working on now. And I'm putting off for my advisors the research proposal until I convince these guys in the UK that actually I'm trying to do what you're doing, but I think I'm doing it 2 levels deeper. And this is why I think it is. So it's methodology.
That's amazing. And can I say, actually showing that you're digging a couple of layers down, I think that's the crucial bit of this story, I think, Emma. So if you can, and look, it's one of those things, and Paul and I were laughing about this in the digital office hours too. It's when someone says, oh, look, give us a one pager. What is that code for? And that's code for they need to simplify it. And we live in times where I would argue too much has been simplified. But Emma Dunn, if you can give them that one pager and then continue to give them hell, I think that's a fantastic thing to do.
I won't try and give them hell. I've been writing pages back and forth, and I think they got overwhelmed anyway. But I think it's probably good for me, because I'm going to be doing a proposal and then presenting it. It needs to be something that everybody can see and understand. Unless I can do that, I'm not making my case. I'm trying to think this is a good thing I'm doing.
Emma Dunn, it is. It's a beautiful thing that you're doing, but it's always balancing that, making it understandable and accessible, but not dumbing it down. That's the challenge, and you do that brilliantly.
We'll see.
We know you'll do this. And speaking of legendary humans with magnificent dissemination strategies, we all wait for Susan. Susan, oh wow, Susan. Good evening, Susan from New York City. How are you going?
Good evening, everybody. I've been working on this article, and I have it in two versions, one an academic version and another a popular version.
Yes.
The academic version, I have submitted it to a peer-reviewed journal, and I'm waiting for them to answer. So I decided to work on the popular version today. And, I was rewriting and editing and whatever. I've been studying methodology and research methodology for history and social sciences for the past month. So my mind is kind of working in those ways, and as a result, I have kind of redone my literature review. And it's really interesting, that this particular article, I'm not finding very much about this practice, even though it's kind of ubiquitous in the English speaking world, having to do with women's surnames being taken from them when they get married. So, that's what I was that's what I was editing, actually, this article that I had written.
Right. I can't wait to read this. I know we all can't wait to read this, but isn't it a thing about life, Susan, that's something that's the really important stuff in life no one ever talks about? The really important stuff that happens that that eviscerates identity is so very rarely talked about. And the stuff that doesn't matter fills the discourse, but the stuff that cuts and wounds identity is simply assumed to be normal.
I am starting to wonder, and I've wondered this for some time, but it's becoming a strong wonderment now, whether a lot of the things, the inventions and books and what have you, that are authored by famous men were actually produced by their wives, because their wives could not be named as authors. I mean, literally, they could not be named as authors in their own name. So as a result, everything that happened in that household that was done by the females, especially the wives, the husband or the father got credit for it. So it's like this is an old concept, but it obliterated women's identities. It obliterated their power. It obliterated, all kinds of things. So, for example, Marie Curie, she was a Polish woman. She married a Frenchman. She won 2 Nobel Prizes for the work she did. But American newspapers in particular were kind of confused about how to name her in newspaper articles. They said, okay, she's married, so we can't call her by her birth name. So she's Marie Curie. But then in France, she was known as Marie, I can't pronounce the Polish name.
Polish name.
Yeah, so I mean, it's
Orlovska.
a lot of craziness. But anyway, that's what I'm working on.
Oh, and it's funny, Susan, you and I are linked. We clearly knew each other in a previous life. I was going to raise the Nobel issue because famously, of course, in the Nobel, the men do get it and their wives. And Einstein, of course, Einstein's first wife's another great example of that. But Susan, such powerful work, such powerful work, so important. And obviously, I can't even, poor Jamie's in multiple meetings at this point. He is so obsessed by Mary Curie. Those of you that know Jamie, is he buys, wherever he goes around the world, he buys the license plates for his car. He buys Curie. So because he is so obsessed, he just thinks she is probably the greatest scientist that has ever lived. And I think I probably agree with him. But Susan,
I agree.
Oh, Jamie, would you like to speak to Susan's incredibly inspirational work? I know you've got 57 things happening.
I only heard a little bit of it, so I don't feel I can talk to it precisely, but I have been advocating for what I would call gender justice in the historic narrative of science for quite a number of years now. So my heroes are people like Rosalind Franklin, Mary Curie, of course, Liz Meitner, and these are people, all of whom deserved the Nobel Prize and had it taken away from them by the patriarchal nature of science and science narrative. So yeah, if you're working on that stuff, I absolutely adore it. Please continue.
We adore you, Jamie, and we adore you, Susan. You just keep doing that work. Unbelievable. Shall we move to our other Susan, Susan M? Now, I know good afternoon, good evening from Jamaica. Now, Susan M, your connection's a little bit dodgy, but what were you working on, Susan? We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I was working, trying to remember what I was working. I know what I'm working. So I was working on I guess maybe the outline of a research proposal. So, so I have an interest in digital health, and so I was thinking, I'm supervising some students right now, and I was just talking to one of them earlier this afternoon, and because of how those two projects dovetail, I was saying to them, it only makes sense to have this might sound really strange, to have one survey that combines, it's the same population, and then some of them use parts of the data set to answer one research question, and then the other group uses part of the data set because they don't do the same analysis. So I hope that's not crazy. I've not even read that before. And then I was thinking, because it wasn't today, it was the first time I was thinking it, is that while I'm doing that, if that can be done, I don't see any reason why not, I would add some items on the survey that would address another research question. So what I was doing was basically writing down my proposed research question along that line. So basically what I want to know is there's a framework called technology acceptance, so that the one that's most explanatory you talk to based on the current literature. So I want to look at the technology acceptance of digital health intervention among Jamaican university students, because that's the population that the students are looking at. It's not the university students I'm actually personally interested in. I'm actually interested in other groups, but that's the group that they're looking at. So, maybe we could compare. This is based on the literature now. And I might need to narrow this, but I just wrote all these things down because mental health, alcohol.
Yep.
Well, I wrote climate change just because that's the thing I was thinking about. There's actually some literature on that. So I wrote too many things, healthy lifestyle. So I just put that down as a list to see which ones of those I might be most interested in. But basically I'm like saying, just out of my head, just writing down, what is the level of interest in health literacy? What is the level of interest in health behavior for different areas, and what factors would then influence the acceptance? It's a particular model that's already been used, and what's the prevalence of wearables, apps, and social media among these actual group of people? So that's what I wrote. And there's a 2023 paper that like kind of has adapted the Utah 2 model and added this thing called health protective behavior model, which I basically have never heard about until about 2 months ago. So, but this is something that's really ripe for research, because the areas that have a lot of research right now with evidence, compelling evidence, is mental health. So there's even a World Health Organization model that shows that interventions for depression work in some populations. And in most other areas, it's not yet compelling evidence. So this is just looking at, is there interest among university students? But you have to start somewhere. So if there's interest, then you say, okay, let's do an actual intervention study. So first you have to show that there's interest, and then maybe you can see if you can get money, because this is something where I work in computing. Sorry, maybe I'm talking too much. I work in computing, and I've been trying to get people in health in my university to come and say, oh, come alongside. Oh, and as I said, I'll say one more thing. I actually am in a partnership with the UK right now. So they just got grant funding. Well, they just told me last week, Friday. So we're having a meeting on Monday. So the National Health Fund and University of Manchester. So I'm one of the people on this list of people. So I'm actually going to be my real first international research project. And that's actually a mental health project. I don't know, it's very complicated if you ask me. I actually think it's too complicated. But anyway, so things are pretty exciting because I'm leading one research project. I'm in a new research project. I'm writing down this project, and I'm trying to figure out what should I be. So anyway, that's what I wrote today.
Susan, this is
that's my 2 cents.
You've given us the full quid rather than the 2 cents, Susan. You're amazing. That's brilliant. I hope you see Paul's face, or you look at Paul's face when you see this again, because everything you've said there is superb. We want to cite that research. And also, Paul, there's a sustainability to how she's considering the survey. I know you went straight there. That's what sustainable research looks like. How can we ask a human information and have 3 and 4 dovetailed projects emerge from it? Amazing. Amazing. Can I thank you, Susan, for everything. Can I quickly go to Jess, our beautiful new friend? So Jess, how did you go? Just say hi, and what did you write on for this half an hour?
Hi, everyone. Okay, so this morning's meeting motivated me to actually look at my proposal, because I did my confirmation of candidature. It was 3 weeks ago now, but I got to resubmit. So that was a bit deflating. And yeah, and there was it helped me understand that some of the things are just university, hoops we have to jump through to get this across the line. So I'm just going to do it.
Just do it. Keep walking. Small steps. Remember what Paul said, keep walking. And Jess, we got the smile back, can I say, Jess? How are you feeling now?
Yeah, I'm feeling a bit better. I've been avoiding this for weeks, so.
When you're in the middle of hell, keep walking. You're the best, Jess. And we will finish with the finisher. And I could see Dina being incredibly emotionally connected to what Jess said there about the challenges of the COC. Dina's at the other end, Jess. And so let's deal with the finisher in her finishing. Dina, what were you writing on, gorgeous creature of the universe?
I'm writing on a presentation because I have a panel supervisory meeting next week, the same time on Friday. So apologies in advance, I could not attend the next session tomorrow. So it's like the first time that the 4 of us meet, because I was concentrating on submitting the chapters after chapters after chapters. So it's the first time that I will present like a whole result and the methodology in one concise presentation. So it's a bit I'm a bit nervous for that. But for the content of the chapters, my supervisor are agreeable, so I just have to keep revising, and like I shared the last time, just to ensure that my English is a bit formal English. So I have been shifting the writing style in all of my chapter that I submitted to a more third person point of view. So yeah. not too exciting.
No, can I say you're absolutely amazing. That sigh from me was, I just don't want you, and I'm sure we all agree with this, people who have followed Dina on this journey, we don't want you to lose that centeredness, that empowered I that you've shared with us in the last few weeks. Yes, go third person, you know, if that renders it more objective, whatever that means. But also, and we talked about with Jess in the last hour too, center yourself and claim that space about what you're doing and why, Dina. And that's your story to tell.
Yes, that's why I'm grateful that my primary supervisor, she's not a disaster management expert, but she's a grounded theory expert. She was my secondary, and then changed into my primary because my primary supervisor died of cancer in April. So the last of my panel doesn't seem to have disaster management expertise. So that's probably where I could try to rely on myself to make this a really good content from the disaster management perspective, and then ask for their assistance for the methodology and the flow of the research.
You go, Dina, you go. You are the star of your own life, okay? You are the star of your thesis, and we would follow you anywhere. We believe in you completely, and you've got this.
Thank you.
Okay, Dina? Colleagues, I thank you so much for a beautiful morning, and that's just Ruth. Thank you all for your time and your expertise and your fabulousness, and you inspire me every single week. Thank you for your time. Good luck next week, Dina. We'll be thinking of you. Much love, everybody. Bye-bye. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye. Good night, Susan. Have a good one.